Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Yevamos Chav Zayin. We begin 8 lines from the top of the Amud Gufa. Let's go back and review the halacha that Shmuel presented for us. Amar Shmuel, Cholatz la'achayos. You have two sisters who are Yevamos. Reuven and Shimon passed away, leaving behind their wives. Reuven was married to Rachel, Shimon was married to Leah. So now we have two Yevamos who are achayos, they are sisters. Now, this brother, who is the potential Yavam, actually cannot do Yibum to either one of the sisters. Let's assume the concern is because of a Zika. We discussed this yesterday. Rabbi Yevama, who is destined for Yibum, is Zakuk. She is bound. She's sort of tied to the Yavam. This already some sort of initiation of that relationship. And in this case, where we have two Yevamis who happen to be sisters, each one is a sister of the other one. Achos zukukasa. It's as though it's your wife's sister. So Yibum is really not an option. He'll do chalitza. But what happened was, these Yevamis happened to have tsares as well. Rachel has a companion wife, and Leah also has a companion wife, in which case, you have a choice at hand. Do you do chalitza to the actual sisters, or do you go over to the tsares and do chalitza in that way, and exempt the Yevamis, because you only do one chalitza per household? Which way do you go? Amar Shmuel, Cholatz la'achayos. If he does chalitza to the actual sisters, who are not really available for Yibum, as we explained, every sister is an achos zekuka. Yibum is not an option. So really the chalitza in this context is not a proper chalitza, as we explained yesterday, because ideally chalitza should be an alternative to Yibum. But if Yibum is not an option in this case, then the chalitza is called the chalitza psula. It's a flawed chalitza. It's an incomplete chalitza. It works, but it only works for that isha. It doesn't work for the other one. It doesn't exempt the other part of the household. Cholatz la'achayos. If he actually does chalitza to the sisters who cannot really have Yibum done, so it's an incomplete chalitza. Lo niftur tsares. It won't really spill over and have a positive effect on the companion wives. They themselves need another chalitza, because their chalitza is meant to be a better chalitza than the sisters themselves who can't have Yibum. So if you do chalitza to these sisters, it doesn't really benefit the tsares. But if he does chalitza to the tsares, that's a much better chalitza. Nifturu achayos. In this case, it exempts the sisters, the actual Yevamis as well. So Rachel has a tzara and Leah has a tzara. If you do chalitza to Rachel and Leah, it doesn't help the tzaras, but if you do chalitza to the tzaras, it helps the entire household. Shmuel continues, Cholatz lebalas haget. Typically, the Yavam will do either Yibum or chalitza. Suppose he was being a bit creative here, or simply out of ignorance, he gave a get instead of chalitza. What happens is that now the Yivam is no longer suitable for Yibum. We're going to learn this later on. So get sort of disqualifies her from Yibum. So we have two Yivamis from the same household. It's a different case. A fellow passed away, leaving behind two wives, Rachel and Leah. And this Yavam, this brother, gave a get to Rachel, but not to Leah. So if he does chalitza to Rachel, Cholatz lebalas haget lo niftur tzara, it doesn't exempt Leah, because, as we explained, when chalitza is done in a non-Yibum context, such as over here, where he can no longer be miyabim the isha who he gave a get. That's the halach. Once you give the get to a Yevama, you can't be miyabim her. That's a chalitza psula, so it doesn't help the tzara. Lo niftur tzara. L'tzara. However, if he did chalitza to the tzara, who is Yibum enabled, that's a proper chalitza. That's a chalitza which is the flip side of Yibum. Niftur balas haget, it will exempt and be paiter the companion wife, the Yevama, who happened to have a get. So the bottom line is, if you do an inferior, a deficient chalitza, it doesn't help for the isha who's meant to have a better chalitza. But if you do the superior chalitza, it exempts everybody. In similar fashion, we have cholatz lebalas hamamra. So instead of doing Yibum or Chalitza to his Yevama, he either did a get, as we explained, or in this case he did Ma'amar, which is sort of a Kiddushin done to a Yevama. Again, it's not standard procedure. He gave her money, he was Mekadesh her, which is not really a proper conclusion. He has to actually do Yibum, live with her. But this Yevama, her status sort of has changed through this Ma'amar. Why? Because now if he wants to get rid of her, he can no longer just do Chalitza. He has to give her Chalitza and a get to address the Kedushin the Mamar. So in this case, the Chalitza to the Balas Mamar is an incomplete process, so to speak. Because on top of Chalitza, you have to have a get as well. So if he does Chalitza to the Balas Mamar, it won't help the companion Yevama, because the companion is meant to have a real, good, solid, high quality Chalitza, which was not done in this case. But if he does Chalitza Letzara, which is a proper Chalitza, because this Tzara is Yibum enabled, Niftar Balas Mamar, the Chalitza will spill over and benefit the other Yevama who happened to have the Mamar, who could only tolerate a lower level Chalitza. This is a higher level Chalitza, which certainly helps her and dresses her as well. End quote. This is Shmuel's halach. Let's go back and zero in on the first part of Shmuel. Reuben passes on, Shimon passes on, they both leave behind the Yevama, who happen to be sisters. So Leah is the older one. Let's assume Leah was Neifel first. She became available first, and then Shimon, who was married to Rachel, passed on. He left behind Rachel. Leah and Rachel are sisters. If you do Chalitza to the sisters, it's a Chalitza Psula because they're not Yibum enabled. Each one is a Chaysa Kuka. It's not a proper Chalitza, and will not help the Tzara, the other wife, that came along with Leah, came along with Rachel. Okay, so let's analyze that halacha. Why does Shmuel tell us that if you do Chalitza to the sisters, it doesn't help the Tzaris? Because it's a Chalitza Psula. Why? Because you could not marry any of these sisters. The Haviloi Achos Isha Bezika, because Rachel is a sister of Leah who is Zakak to you, and it's like your wife's sister, and likewise Leah is a sister of Rachel who is sort of like your wife because she's Zakak to you. Yibum is not an option. So Chalitza is Chalitza Psul. If so, Chalatz Letzoris Nami. What gain do you have by doing Chalitza to the companion wife? That's also problematic. You know why? Chalatz Letzoris Nami Lo Liftu Acharis. It can't. That Chalitza can't exempt the actual sisters, the Yevamis, because that Chalitza as well is a flawed, incomplete Chalitza. Because just as the Yevama herself, Rachel and Leah, are not Yibum enabled because they're sisters, they're Achos, the cook of each other. Guess what? Whenever we have an erva who can't do Yibum, the companion wife is affected as well. That's what the whole first parak is about. So just as Leah can't have Yibum because she's Rachel's sister, she's Achos, the kuka, well, guess what? Leah's companion, Leah's tzara is a tzara of Leah. It's like a tzara's erva. So the tzaras aren't any better than the sisters. Kasava Shmuel in Zika. Shmuel does not hold up a Zika. Zika was never really a concern in this case. What was a concern? We'll see in a minute. But in any case, there's no Zika concerns here, meaning just because she is meant for you doesn't make her connected to you, and Rachel is not considered a sister of your wife, so to speak, and neither is Leah. Shmuel himself told us way back on the Futches, that Zika is a serious thing. Well, in this halacha he was presenting, in accordance with that opinion, Zika is not something to be reckoned with. Okay, so then what's the concern to begin with here? What's wrong with doing chalitza to the achayas? What could be wrong? We thought it was because of Zika, because each one's a sister of a Zakuka. Well, that's not a concern, as we just concluded. Let's go down the list. So we have Leah, who was the first Yevama in town. We have Rachel, the newly arrived Yevama. Each one had another wife, another companion with her. Leah brought along a friend, and Rachel brings along her tzara. Bishlam et Sarah de Rachel loiti pater. I understand what happens if he does chalitza to Leah first. Leah falls, Yevamos, he does chalitza to Leah. By doing chalitza to Leah, you know what he's doing? In effect, he's shutting out Rachel, because Rachel is now a sister of the woman who he was chayletz. It's called achois chalutzasai, which is asar b'drabbanan. He can no longer marry Rachel when she comes into town with her friend. So since Rachel is not yibum enabled, so in effect the chalitza done to Rachel is a chalitza psula, and would not really help the tzara of Rachel. It helps Rachel herself, but it can't help the tzara of Rachel, who requires a better chalitza than just a chalitza psula. So bishlam tzara de Rachel etipata. I understand that Rachel's tzara wouldn't really benefit from Rachel's chalitza, which is a chalitza psula. Why? The kivan the chalitza Leah, because once he does chalitza to the first Yevamos Leah, v'hadar chalatz leRachel, then he goes over to Rachel, who came later with her tzara. Havila chalitza de Rachel chalitza psula. Guess what? The chalitza done to Rachel is an incomplete, deficient chalitza, because he could never marry Rachel at this point. Once he did chalitza to Leah, Rachel is achois chalutzasai. That's understandable. Then in this case, when he does chalitza to Leah first and then goes over to Rachel, that's an incomplete chalitza which can't help Rachel's tzara. Elo tzara de Leah tipater. But why can't Leah's, the first Yevamos tzara, benefit from Leah's chalitza, which was a perfectly proper chalitza? Because at the point of Leah's nefila, she could have had yibum. She had no competing sisters on the market. She was the first Yevamos, the sole Yevamos. He could have been miyabim her if he chose to. Tosfos actually points out that perhaps he can't do it because there's a bit of mitzvah Yevamos. We discussed this yesterday, but in any case, it's not considered chalitza psula. You have to take a look at Tosfos. But in any case, once he does chalitza to Leah, which is a proper chalitza, why can't that positively impact her own tzara? Ma'ilo niftaru tzaras nami de ka'amar. Guess what? When Shmuel says that the chalitza of the achayos doesn't help the tzaras, it was a very specific tzara. A tzara de Rachel. Only Rachel's tzara gets adversely affected. She can't benefit from Rachel's chalitza, which in effect was a chalitza psula, because Rachel at this point was a sister of his chalutza Leah. But Leah's tzara is perfectly fine. She's been addressed by Leah's chalitza, which was a chalitza kshera, because it was in lieu of yibum. V'atzaras kamar, but Shmuel says the chalitza of the achayos can't be pointed tzarais, plural. Tzarais the alma. He doesn't mean more than tzara of Rachel. Plural just refers to whenever you have such a situation, that type of tzara will not benefit from the chalitza. Iyachi chalas atzarais nifteru achayos. Let's move on to the next part of Shmuel's statement. When you do chalitza to sisters, it won't really have a positive effect on the tzara. Okay. Shmuel continues, but chalitza to tzara will be good for the sisters themselves, because the chalitza of tzara is better and can address the sisters too. We're assuming that we're on the same track. The same story. So Leah fell first with her tzara, then Rachel came along with her tzara. He did chalitza to Leah, which is a proper chalitza. It was paiter, her own tzara. Then Rachel came along. At this point, Rachel is not yibum enabled because she's a sister of a chalutza. Shmuel says, look, you do chalitza to Rachel, it can't be paiter the tzara, because the tzara needs a better chalitza. But Shmuel continues, and we're assuming that we're just on the same track, the same story. Chalatz l'tzaris, if you do chalitza to the tzaris, which basically means to Rachel's tzara, nifteru achayis, it's going to exempt the sisters, which basically means atzaras Rachel. We're going on, the Rachel's tzara. So you do chalitza to Rachel's tzara, it's going to help Rachel herself. Is that what Shmuel meant? Mi miftera? How can Rachel become exempted and addressed and accommodated by her own tzara's chalitza, which is a chalitza psula? Even Rachel's tzara is a problematic. Even Rachel's tzara chalitza is a problematic chalitza. You know why? Because Rachel is a sister of Leah, the Chalutza, so she's not Yibum enabled, and likewise, her own Tzara is also, she's a Tzara of a relative of a Chalutza, which is also problematic. She can't have Yibum, but Tanan, the Mishnah says, Asar Adam B'Tzaras Krevas Chalutzasi. One may not engage with the companion wife of the relative of his Chalutza. His Chalutza in this case is Leah, relative is Rachel, and companion is Tzaras Rachel. So why is Tzaras Rachel any better than Rachel herself? There's no Yibum option by her either. In which case, the Chalitza done to her is a Chalitza Psula. Answers the Gemara, we're not speaking about the same case. Shmuel here is addressing two different cases. Shmuel Nami Hischel, V'le Hischel Ka'amar. Shmuel is presenting two different stories. It all depends how you start, how you initiate, how you begin the process. Shmuel is giving you some hearty advice. You want to save time? You want to do the least possible amount of chalitzas? You have a choice. You can end up doing either 2 or 3. All depends how you sequence it. Hischel ba'achayos. You start with sisters, then you're in trouble. You're going to end up doing 3 chalitzas. Lo yigma b'tzaris. Then you can't just conclude with itzara. What does this mean? So back to the story. You have Reuven and Shimon. Reuven was married to Leah, Shimon to Rachel. Reuven passed away, leaving behind Leah with a tzara. So now, if the Yavam, the surviving brother Levi, let's call him Levi, he starts with sisters. He goes straight to Leah and does chalitza to her, which is fine, because she's Yibum enabled at this point. What's going to happen is, he'll end up doing 3 chalitzas, because when Rachel comes to town with her friend, Rachel is now disqualified from Yibum. She's achois chalutzasai. And likewise, Rachel's tzara is disqualified because she's the tzara of achois chalutzasai, as we just explained. So you can't just do one more chalitza. Lo yigmar b'tzaris. You can't conclude with just one more chalitza to the tzara of Rachel, because Rachel and her tzara are both getting chalitza psulis, so if they both need a separate chalitza. Das nan asr adam b'tzaras krevas chalutzasai. One may not engage with the tzara of the relative of his chalutza. In this case, it's the tzara of Rachel. So the only solution is 3 chalitzas. To Leah, then to Rachel and to her tzara. Then Shmuel continues. If you want to save yourself some time and go down to 2 chalitzas, this is how you meant to do it. Here's Shmuel's advice. Hischel b'tzaris. But if you started with the tzara, so way back when Leah fell with her tzara, he didn't opt to do chalitza to Leah. Rather, he went straight to Leah's tzara. In that case, he saved himself some time and effort. Because then when Rachel comes into town with her tzara, Yigmar Appa Achayis, he can conclude the process by doing just one more chalitza, either with Rachel's tzara or even Rachel herself. You know why? Because Leah is not a chalitza. Remember, he did chalitza to Leah's tzara. So when Rachel comes to town, she's not a sister of a chalutza. So she could have Yibum. And likewise, her tzara could certainly have Yibum. She's even one step farther removed from Leah's tzara. So since Rachel and her tzara are Yibum enabled, the chalitza done to them is a proper chalitza. So either chalitza, whether to Rachel or to her tzara, exempts both of them. This nan, mutar adam b'krevas tzaras chalutzasa. One is mutar and the relative of the tzara of the isha who you was chalitz. In this case, we're referring to Rachel, who's a relative of Leah, who's just a tzara of the tzara of Leah, which is the chalutza. So if you started with doing chalitza to Leah's tzara, then when Rachel comes along with her tzara, they're both mutar liyibum. Chalitza to either one is effective. So according to this approach in the Gemara, Shmuel's halacha is not based on zikr. It's based on achos, chalutza, on those types of halachas. And Shmuel is simply telling us some good advice how to proceed. You have 2 sisters, each one having a tzara with her. Which way to go? What's the best option? What's the best track to take? Go straight to the tzara of Leah, and then when Rachel comes along, you can do it to either one, Rachel or the tzara, a total of 2 chalitzas. But if you start with Leah herself, then when Rachel comes along, she's a sister of the chalutza. She's off the map. No yibum option there. And likewise, her tzara is a tzara of a relative of chalutza. No yibum option there either. That compels him to do an additional 2 chalitzas for a total of 3. Rav Ashi Amar Lo Elam Kedeka Amris. You know what? Let's go back to the first approach. Shmuel's halacha is based on the zika concern. That's why Shmuel says if you have 2 Yevamos, Leah and Rachel, who are sisters, you can't do chalitza to either because either one is a sister of a zakuka, which is like a sister of one's wife. What then? Do chalitza to the tzara. Well, the question was, this tzara is also problematic. She's a tzara of an erva. There's a big difference between tzaras erva and tzaras zekuka. This is only the Rabbanan, which doesn't really spill over and seriously affect the tzara. And therefore the chalitza to the tzara is considered a proper, full-fledged, complete chalitza. Alima zika. The concept of zika is not strong enough l'shavi l'tzara ke'erva to make the tzara like an erva. So true, the achayas are problematic because each one is an achay sekuka, but that doesn't spill over to the tzara. Chalitza to the tzara is considered a proper chalitza. Tanika was the Rav Ashi will support this from a brisa. Chalatz la'achayas le'niftur tzaris. By doing chalitza to achayas, you haven't really addressed its tzaris because each sister is asur for yibum. She's achayas sekuka, so it's not a yibum enabled situation. It's not a chalitza in lieu of yibum. It's a chalitza psula which can't help the tzara. Who needs a proper chalitza? We have a diuk, hold it, sorry. So apparently if you do the chalitza to the tzara of these women, niftur achayas, it would be perfect for the achayas as well. My time of why live mishum de kasava yesh zika. Isn't the reason for the halacha because A, we hold zika as a concern, so the achayas are achayas kukasai, and not right for yibum, but v'le alima zika l'shavi l'tzara ke'erva, but this zika concern can't spill over to the tzara to consider her a tzara's erva, and therefore the chalitza done to the tzara is a proper chalitza. That's right to Rav Ashi, who espoused this principle. Omar Abar Bar Mamel, not so fast. Hamani Beshami. Maybe this brisa is in line with Beshamai, who are never concerned about a tzara's erva. Even if she's a real tzara's erva, she's still mutter this not Beshami matir not tzara's lach. Even a tzara's erva is meant for yibum. If that would be the case, if it's Beishamai, then why limit yourself to chalitza? Yibum minami to siyabim, she would do yibum. Why would the Brisa speak about only chalitza? No, Rabbi Yehuda ben Nuri. Maybe it's like Rabbi Yehuda the Amaru struck a compromise between Beishamai and Yisrael, and he says, look, boyu and asakin lem letzaris. Let's establish that the tzaris should follow the following practice. Shiu choltzis lem siyabim. Let's do just chalitza, no yibum. Maybe that's the pshat why we limit it to chalitza. Well, that doesn't work. V'amar, we learned before. They never got to conclude and establish this as a halacha until time was up. They just couldn't put it together. So we have no such halacha. Amar Nachman bar Yitzchak. True, in Rabbi Yehuda ben Nuri's time it was not established, but achrav, maybe the Dur following Rabbi Yehuda Chazar v'tiknu. Chacham there did reestablish this concept, and maybe that's why the Brisa says that the tzara of the sister should do chalitza. We'll go like Beishamai. She's really a tzaras erva. Tzaras erva is meant for yibum, but they didn't really allow yibum. They decided chalitza is a good compromise, and that's why we speak about chalitza. So bottom line is we don't have a right to Rav Ashi's halach. That according to Beis Hillel, that tzaras erva is problematic. Still, the tzara of this sister situation would not be considered problematic. We don't have a right to that because perhaps the price is following Beishamai. So bottom line is like this. Shmuel tells us chalitza to sisters is problematic. You should opt for chalitza to tzaris. We have 2 approaches, 2 ways to explain Shmuel. Simple approaches. It's based on yesh zika. Don't do chalitza to the sisters, to Leah or to Rachel, who are considered achay sekuka, in which case it's not a bona fide chalitza in lieu of yibum because there's no yibum option in this case. Rather, do the chalitza to the tzaris, tzara of Leah, tzara of Rachel, which will address the entire household. The other approach was ein zika. So zika is not a concern here. What then? Shmuel's giving us some good advice how to proceed and save us some time and effort. So if you start with the tzara of Leah, Leah fell first, together with the tzara, you do chalitza to that tzara, that's the best way to go. Because then when Rachel arrives at her tzara, technically both Rachel and Tzara mutar liyibum. And therefore, chalitza to either one will address the entire situation. But if you start with chalitza to Leah, so Leah and Tzara arrive first, you do chalitza to Leah. In effect, you are shutting out Rachel and the Tzara from any yibum options. So when Rachel and the Tzara arrive later, they're both asal yibum. Rachel because she's the achois chalutzasei, and the Tzara is the Tzara the achois chalutzasei. So in effect, the yibum option is non-existent, and therefore the chalitza is not considered a proper chalitza. Chalitza, which is not in lieu of yibum, is a chalitza psula, which requires a separate chalitza per person, one for Rachel, one for Tzara, which gives you, in effect, a total of 3 chalitzas. Let's move on to the next part of Shmuel. Shmuel tells us that we have an Isha who accepted a get, a Yevamos, that is, or accepted Mamar. That's already a problematic situation. That's not a standard Yevamos, in which case the Chalitza should be done to the Isha who does not have that deficiency. So if you have 2 Yevamos from the same household, one is free of any constraints, and one had a get, or one is standard and the other one had Mamar, opt for the one that has no strings attached. That's a better chalitza. But let's say you're faced with a dilemma, a situation which presents as follows: balas haget to balas mamar. You have 2 Yevamis, same household. Rachel had a get, and Leah got mamar. So they both have something wrong. Ezim and kademis. Which one should you prefer? Which one should get the chalitza? Which chalitza is superior? What's the shaila? Balas haget adif. Should we prefer the one that got the get? Because he already began sort of shoving her out. She already 1 foot out the door, so now the chalitza really just completes that process. It's a proper chalitza, and that's better than the balas mamar who's sort of on the way in. So balas mamar needs more than just a chalitza to get rid of her. She needs a get as well, so she needs a double process done, whereas the one that only got the get, all she needs is a chalitza. So that chalitza is more effective and perhaps stands higher, is considered higher in value. And that should be done. Or perhaps the other way around. Let's look at the connection, at the zika, at the bond between Yavam and Yevama. Balas mamar adiva, perhaps the Isha who accepted the mamar stands higher. Mishum the Krevi Labiyah, she's closer to living with him as married, so she's sort of 1 foot in the door, closer to him. In which case her zika is stronger. Her bond is stronger, her tie is stronger, her requirement to get chalitza is actually more profound, more acute. So in this case, perhaps her chalitza is better, is stronger, is more powerful, is more needed than the one that got to get and is sort of out the door already. So there's 2 ways to look at it, as the Ritva explains. Do you look at the power of the chalitza, which is certainly more powerful by the balas haget, because all she needs is a chalitza, and that's better than the balas mama, who needs really 2 things, chalitza and get. So perhaps do it to the balas haget. Or let's prefer the one who had mamar, who's sort of closer to him and needs more. She's more desperate for the chalitza, so to speak. And that will exempt the other Isha. So which way to go? Omer Rav Ashi, I'll bring you a raya, interesting raya, Tashma. We have a discussion later on in the 5th parak regarding a case like this. You have one household with 2 Yevamis. Now, let's say this Yavam did a get to one of the Yevamis. This disqualifies her from Yibam, and pretty much ruins the entire, it disqualifies everybody else in that household, because remember, the whole household is treated as one unit, so all the Yevamis are affected and they can no longer become Nesiyabim. Let's say he does another get to the other Yevam. Is that considered a valid get? Does it have an impact on her? Rabbi Gamliel says no. If you duplicate the process over and over again, it's worthless. You already gave get to somebody in that household, which pretty much disqualified the household. You can't just do the same thing again to the next Isha. It has no meaning. But Umaydi Rabbi Gamliel, even Gamliel agrees if you varietize the process. You did a get to Rachel and Mamar to Leah, or Mamar to Rachel and get to Leah. That has an effect. We reckon with that, even that second procedure, because they're different things. Each one works differently. If if he issues a get to Leah after issuing a mamar to Rachel, it has an impact. She's considered his divorcee. Mamar achar get, or you follow a get with mamar, has an effect. End quote. The kasha is like this. I get adif. Back to our question. What is superior? What stands higher? Get or mamar? Let's think. I get adif. If get stands higher than mamar, so the impact that the get has by pushing her out, shoving her out, is stronger than the pulling in of mamar. Mamar basrei. So how could mamar done after the get? You did get to one isha and mamar to the other yivam. How could that have an effect? Once get was done, it's as though there was a chalitza done. We treat it like chalitza. And of course, once chalitza was done to the household, even to one of the many yivamis, that's it. Show's over. How could anything happen afterwards? Vi mamar adif. And now, on the other hand, if mamar stands higher than get, it's considered like you're pulling her in and sort of being yavam her. How can you issue a get after that to the next yivam? It's as though yibam was done in the household, then it's over, show's over. Ela lashma, it's pretty clear from here that we treat them as equals. Ki adadi ninushma, get and mamar are treated as equals. Each one has a mala that the other one doesn't have. And back to our story, you're faced with two yivamis. One happened to get a get, and one happened to get mamar. Which one deserves the chalitza? We have no preference, because they're both equally deficient yivamis. Just pick your choice, no preference. Here comes a new sugi. Amar v'huna marav. Beis achayis yivamis. You have two sisters who are yivamis. Reuben passed on, leaving behind Rachel. Shimon left behind Leah, who happened to be sisters. Shenaflu f'nei yavam echad. They're presenting to one yavam Levi. As we learned back in the Mishnah, you can't do yivam to either one, because each one is a sister of the Zakukah. That was one approach, or because we're concerned that you're going to be mevatel mitzvah yibum. By doing yibum to one, you're sort of leaving the other sister stranded. She's now the sister of your wife. So the only option is chalitza. So chalat l'rishayna. He did chalitza to the first one that arrived, hutra. So now she's free to marry anybody. Chalat l'shniya. He does chalitza to the second yivama. Same story, hutra. She's free to marry anybody. Meisa rishayna. Oh, let's say Rachel passed on. Mutar b'shniya. He can actually marry Leah because she has no competition. There's no sister there. She's not a chaysa kukasei once Rachel leaves the scene. And it goes without saying, Mesa Shnia, that if Leah passed away, Shemuta B'Rishani, he can go back and marry Rachel. You see, when Rachel fell, when Rachel presented herself to Yibum, there was nobody else competing. She was totally mutter. Then when Leah arrived, she sort of interfered with her life. Now Rachel became also, but now once Leah leaves the scene, Leah is Mesa, Rachel is back on track. Mishum Dahavya Yevama. Rachel is considered a Yevama Shehotra, who was mutter at a certain point in time. Vanessa, and then for some reason became also due to some external factor which intervened and interfered, i.e. Leah's arrival, which made Rachel a Chois Zekuka. But then when Leah disappeared, Rachel became mutter again. She goes back to her original status. She's mutter. That's Rav's approach. I don't care if at a certain point in time the Yevama was Asur. That's a temporary condition which can disappear, and she reverts back to Het. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. It all depends on her status at the point of Nefila. Mesa Shnia, Mutar B'Rishayna. I agree that if first Rachel falls and then Leah falls, and Leah disappears, he can go back and marry Rachel, because at the point of Rachel's presenting to him, Nefila of Rachel was a Nefila of Heter. So still prior to Leah's arrival. But once Leah arrives, she becomes Asa. But once Leah leaves, Rachel's back to square one. Aval Mesa Rishayna. But if Rachel was Mesa, Asa B'Shniya, he can't approach Leah. Why? My time. Because when you have Yevama, who at the point of Nefila, at the point when she presented herself to the Yavam for Yibam, if she was not mutter at that point, if we did not apply to her the pasuk of Yevama Yava Yaleh, which basically means she was not Yibam enabled at the point of Nefila, that condition remains with her permanently. We treat her like a regular sister-in-law with children, without the Yevamos status, and she remains usher forever. It's a permanent condition. Rav Leslie Haisvara, and Rav disagrees with this concept. Rav himself taught it to us. Rav himself tells us, Kol Isha she'einani koyra ba b'shas nefila. If you have an Isha who during her nefila, we cannot apply Yevama Yavi Aleh, she has no heter at the point of nefila, guess what? That condition remains with her for all time. We treat her like your brother's wife that has children, which is an erva forever. So Rav himself holds up this halacha. So how could Rabbi Matter in our case? Big difference. Let's only said when she is presented with with some sort of shame erva min Torah. What's the classic example of this type of Isser? Rashi says you have Reuven and Shimon, two brothers, who happen to be married to two sisters. Reuven to Rachel, Shimon to Leah. Reuven passed away, leaving behind Rachel, who can't go to Yibam to Shimon because she is Shimon's wife's sister. Then Shimon's own wife passes on. He can't approach Rachel because at the point of Nefila, Rachel was his sister-in-law, was his wife's sister. So by an Issa Deraisa, by an Issa Achois Isha Deraisa, yeah, that sticks. That doesn't get removed. Even if the reason for the Issa is gone, she remains Asr. Aval Hacha, but in our case, Zika D'Rabbanai. What's the concern? Two sisters falling at the same time. Each one is an Achois Sekukasa. That's only with the Rabbanon, and that doesn't stick for all time. While it's there, it's Asr, but once it's removed, she reverts back, she's back on track, she's mutter. So bottom line is, if there was an Isser present at the point of Nefila, says Rabbi Yehuda, she can no longer become mutter. Even if the reason for the Isser is somehow removed. Rav disagrees. He says it depends. Isser deraisa, yes, but Isser zik, which is only the Rabbanon, once it's gone, she's back mutter. He has Rabbi Yehuda Kasha from our Mishnah back in the Chavav. Arba Achim, four brothers, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. Beis Mem Nesuim Beis Achayis. Reuben and Shimon are married to Rachel and Leah, two sisters. Umei Suan Nesunas Achayis. Reuben and Shimon pass on. Levi and Yehuda are presented with two Yevamos, who happen to be sisters. The only option is Chalitza. Hare Elu Chotzes Le Mesiyavmis. End quote. That's our Mishnah. Here comes the Kasha. Va'amai, why is Chalitza the only option? Leiku Chad Menayu. Let one of the brothers, say Levi, let him get up. Lachlitz Lo Leshniya. Let him do Chalitza to number 2. To the second Yevam. So first Rachel presented herself, and only then did Leah come onto the scene. Rachel, when she fell, when she was Neifel, she was totally mutter. She had no competition. Then when Leah arrives, she creates the trouble. Let one of the brothers, let's call him Levi, go over to Yevama number 2, to Leah, give her Chalitza, get her off the table, out of the picture, off the map. And now Rachel reverts back to Heta. She's no longer Achois Kuka. Leah is no longer here. V'tiyavi Rishayna. And let Rachel be considered Legabi Idach to the other remaining brother. She can't go back to Rachel can't marry Levi because Levi did Chalitza to Leah, so Rachel is Achois Chalotzase to Levi. But let Rachel approach Yehuda, the available Yavam, and be considered to him ki Yevama shehutra v'nesra, like a Yevama who was mutter at a certain point in time, and then became Aser because Leah arrived. V'chazav ota, and when Leah was removed, Rachel goes back to Heter, and the halacha would be tachsor le'terorishin. She reverts back to her original Heter status. If Rabbi Yehuda is correct, why does the Mishnah insist that we do Chalitza to both? Do Chalitza to number 2 and allow number 1 to go back on track and have Yibum. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda responds in exasperation, I don't know who authored this Mishnah of sisters. Rashi says, Kaloima Zoy in the Mishnah. I don't subscribe to the halacha in the Mishnah. It's an incorrect halacha. Because really that's how you can do it. You could arrange for Rachel to get Yibum. The Gemara will present no less than 6 kashas. Why was Rabbi Yehuda so stuck? He could have had one of 6 solutions to the kasha. We're going to answer each one of these kashas and conclude that Rabbi Yehuda was right on. There was no way out, except for saying what he said. Okay, here comes kasha number 1. Rabbi Yehuda could have said like this: "My choltz is nami diktani." When the Mishnah says choltz cholatzis, it really means just one. Leah, number 2, will have chalitza, but Rachel is good for Yibum. Why couldn't he say that? Well, Chada, for one reason, choltz is katani. It says choltz, plural, 2 women. Well, he could have said my choltz, although it's plural. It means, not in this case, both women. It means, choltz is the alma. Typically, whenever you're presented with such situations, well, then one of the women have to have chalitza. Well, that can't be. Hare elu katani. Mishnah clearly says these women will have chalitza, both Rachel and Leah. Well, Valema, Rabbi Yehuda still could have gotten out of it by saying the cholitz le'l'rishena b'reisha was speaking about a case where it so happens to be the chalitza was done to Rachel first, in which case the system won't work. The whole point was do chalitza to number 2, get her off the scene, and then go back to Rachel, who was mutter to begin with. They messed things up. They did chalitza to Rachel. That's why it got messed up. That's not an answer, because chol tzois, when the Mishnah says chol tzois, it's giving you instructions how to do it. Lichat chilik tani, that's the only way to do it. It's not a result of confusion and circumstance. This is the way to do it. So he couldn't offer this solution to the Mishnah. So that's off. Here comes question number 2. Rabbi Yehuda still could have sidestepped the question by saying like this: halachically speaking, technically speaking, that's a good solution. You could do chalitza to Leah and go back and be miyabim Rachel. But he could have said gezerah. There's a concern. Chacham don't allow. Dilma kadem v'cholitz l'rishena b'reisha. Perhaps he'll confuse the order. He'll do chalitza to Rachel first, and then go to Leah and do the yibum, which of course doesn't work. And therefore, the chatchila you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe but the evidence works, but the chatchila you shouldn't be doing it. And that's why the Mishnah insists on chalitza. Why couldn't he say that? Because v'loy misyabmis ktani. Mishnah says harelu chalitzas v'loy misyabmis. Sounds like a pretty absolute, definitive verdict. There is no yibum. The leka din yibum hachakla. We don't allow yibum at all. Even with the hevet, if he happened to do chalitza to Leah, it won't work. To allow him to do yibum to Rachel. Question number 3. Rabbi Yehuda could have responded as follows: you know why we don't allow it? Gzera shema yamas. You know why we don't allow it even b'diavad? So even if he actually did chalitza to Leah, he can't go back and do yibum to Rachel. Gzera shema yamas. Because we're concerned that maybe the other brother will pass on. What happens like this: if there are 2 brothers here, and one does yibum to one, and then the other one passes away, there's nobody left to take care of the remaining sister. She remains stranded. We had this back on the Chavav, right? There's a concern about bittul, b'mevatel, the mitzvah of yibum. And therefore, Chachamim removed the entire yibum option at all, completely removed it from sisters. And even if he actually did chalitza to Leah first, he followed the instructions. He did it in proper sequence. He did chalitza to Leah, who's number 2. And now wants to do yibum to his brother wants to do yibum to Rachel, number 1. We don't allow it, even b'diavad. Rashi says we don't want people to get accustomed to doing a yibum by sisters, which can lead to a very real situation. It contains a very real concern that perhaps after Yibum is done to one sister, the other brother will pass on, in which case there's nobody left to take care of the other sister. He can't because he's married to one of the sisters, the other one's now his wife's sister, and the other brother's not around. Bittul mitzvah Yevamim. And therefore Chacham say, you know what? Never do Yibum by two sisters. Now as Rashi points out, this Gzeira is actually more impactful than the previous Gzeira. In the previous Gzeira we suggested that fine, it's L'chat Chila, but we speculated that it would work with the Eved. It's only L'chat Chila. Don't allow Chalitza to number 2 and then go to number 1 because you might mix things up. But let's say he actually does it. It should work, and that was the kasha. Why doesn't it work? Mission sounds like it doesn't work even with the Eved. That was the problem. Why were we thinking that it should work with the Eved? Because, as Rashi explains, the fact is you're actually doing Chalitza and Yibum. So, people see there is a Chalitza being done. There's no real concern that next time they won't do Chalitza at all. They'll just do Yibum without Chalitza. People realize Chalitza is necessary, and look, you're doing it. Just that there's a Gzeira that you might mix them up. You might do it in the reverse order. You might mix up the sequence. That's why the Chatchili shouldn't do. But b'di'evet, if you actually do Chalitza properly to number 2, you can do Yibum to number 1. The fact that the Mishnah says even b'di'evet doesn't work, that's a problem to Rabbi Yehuda. But now, when the next step, a new type of Gzeira. We don't want to allow Yibum at all in a situation of two Yevamos who happen to be sisters. Because it might lead to a situation where one sister might get stranded. After one Yibum is done to one sister, the other one's left hanging dry with nobody to take care of her because one brother passed away. The other available brother passed away. So in this case, even b'di'evet, we're not going to allow it. Because not everybody's familiar with these things. Bittul mitzvah Yevamim, some obscure concepts. Therefore, Chacham say, you know what? Don't take chances. Don't do Yibum by sisters, and that's why even b'di'evet, even if you did Chalitza to number 2, you can't be miyam number 1. So why isn't that a good shot in the Mishnah? Why couldn't Rabbi Yehuda offer that as a solution? That is the reason for the Mishnahs not allowing Yibum. Rabbi Yehuda l'misal lechayish, because Rabbi Yehuda perhaps doesn't concern himself with sudden deaths, and therefore he didn't consider that a good answer. Okay, another answer. He could have said, guess what? Our Mishnah is following Shittas Rabbi Lezer, who adopts an interesting chiddush. The Amar Kivan Sha'amda Olav Sha'achas B'Isr. Whenever a Yevama, anytime throughout her career, became usher to the Yavam for whatever reason, even if it was after the Nefila, she became usher at a certain point. Even if that Isser gets removed for some reason, Nesra Olav Eilames, she remains usher on him forever. So perhaps our Mishnah, which doesn't allow this type of solution and go back and Yavim Rachel, is following Rabbi Lezer. Once Asr, always Asr. But we don't hold like Rabbi Lezer, we hold like the Rabbanim. Why couldn't he say that? The answer is the Sefer Rabbi Lezer, because take a look at the next part of the Mishnah, where Rabbi Lezer is quoted. Reisha love Rabbi Lezer. It's pretty clear that the first part of the Mishnah is not Rabbi Lezer. So that's not a solution. We have another option. V'neimelu, he could have said, D'nafal b'vasachas. Mishnah speaking where Rachel and Leah both fell simultaneously. There's no number 1, number 2, so this whole formula doesn't apply. For Rabbi Yesi Aglili, who found Rabbi Yesi Dam Efshel at Samson, you can time things perfectly. It's not probable that our Mishnah would present a halacha like Rabbi Yesi, since we don't hold like that. One final kash. Rabbi Yechon could have responded as follows. Now Mishnah was speaking that it's an unknown situation. Nobody knows who fell first, whether it's Rachel first or Leah first, in which case the solution doesn't apply. That doesn't work. You know why? Because if we have a suffix, as per the sequence of events, so why does Mishnah say that if both brothers jumped in and did Yibum to the sisters, they have to separate? We force her out. Let's analyze it. I understand that the first brother who jumped in, he did something terrible. He was a bad boy. We tell him, Man Sharilach, who gave you the heter to jump in and do Yibum to a sister who's clearly Achoyseku Kascha? You couldn't do that, so we force her out. Ela Shnia, but the second brother, how can you force her out? he can justify what he did. He can say like this. Listen to this. It's a good lawyer. Omar, he could argue like this. Look, we have Rachel, who's number one, and Leah, who fell number two. Now, we don't know who fell first, who fell second, right? You don't know. But I'm going to speculate like this. Chavroi, my friend, basically my brother, who was Miyabim first, Shnei Yibim. He chanced upon number two. He got Leah. I'm just saying Leah, but basically it means he got the second Yivam. We don't know who's who, but he happened to get the second. I'm speculating that he got number two. I'm not Rishonim Yibam. I'm getting number one. So once he took number two, wrongfully, he shouldn't have done it, because at that point there were two Yevamis outstanding. Each one is a sister of a cook. He shouldn't have done it. He's a bad boy. But once he took number two, number one is fine. As per Rabbi Yechonan's approach, that number one is fine, and then when number two comes into town, as long as you take away number two, number one is back good. So I got number one. I got the first Yivam. I'm not Rishonim Yibam. You can't force me to separate. And that's true, because it's only a suffix now. If he's involved in a problematic situation, we don't know. So you can't force her out. Why then does the Mishnah say you force them both to leave? So if it's a suffix situation, the Mishnah wouldn't work. This solution doesn't work. So back to the kasha. Apparently we're speaking about a standard situation. We know who is number one. We know who is number two. According to Rabbi Yehuda, solution is simple. Just take care of number two, get her out of the way, get her off the map, and go back and be miyab number one. Why does the Mishnah insist on chalitza for both? That explains Rabbi Yehuda's response. Well, this Mishnah of sisters, I have no idea who presented it. It's an inaccurate Mishnah. I have no way out. So bottom line is that a Yevamah that became Asr at any given point in time, what happens to her? If it happened after her Nefila, according to Rabbi Lezer, she remains Asr forever. According to Rabbanah, no, doesn't impact her. But if it happened Bishas Nefila, she fell, she presented when she was Asr, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it sticks for all time. According to Rav, it depends. If it's a Dairaisa concern, that sticks. But only the Rabbanan, it wouldn't stick. Now, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the Yisr only arrives later, then you can go ahead and remove that Yisr and have the Yevamah revert back to her heter, and that was the kasha presented from the Mishnah. And he concluded with Inya Dea Mishayim. Okay, let's do a real brief chazara of today's daf. We started with Shmuel's presentation. Shmuel tells us that when we have two sisters and tzaris, do chalitza to the sisters, not to the tzaris. We had two approaches in the Gemara. Either it's based on the Zika concept. Sisters are disqualified from Yibum because each one is a sister of a Zekuka, it's like your wife's sister. There's no Yibum option to the sisters. And therefore the chalitza to them is a chalitza psula. Rather do chalitza to the tzaris, which will take care of the Yibum obligations. According to the second approach, Ein Zika is the basis of Shmuel's halacha. There's no Zika concerns. Rather, Shmuel is telling us follows. When Leah comes along with her tzara, if you do chalitza to the tzara, you've saved yourself some effort, because then when Rachel comes along with her companion wife, both Rachel and that tzara are mutali yibum. Therefore, chalitza to either one works. Whereas if you choose to do chalitza to Leah when she comes with her tzara, now you're shutting out Rachel and her tzara when they arrive, because the Rachel is a relative of a chalutza, can't have yibum, and likewise a tzara can't have yibum. In that case, you'll have to do a separate chalitza for Rachel and for the tzara to address the entire household. Typically, we opt for the better chalitza. So if we have an ordinary Yevamah next to a Yevamah who had a get, or a Yevamah that had mamre, do chalitza to the ordinary Yevamah, who's free of any baggage. But if it's a Yevamah that had a get versus one that had mamre, we have no preference. Conclude with the halacha. A Yevamah shenesra became us at a certain point in time. According to Rabbi Lezer, it remains forever. According to Rabbanan, it does not. Except if the Issa was Bishas Nefila. Rabbi Yechon says it's Asa for all time. Rav says, well, it depends. If it's an Issa Daraisa, it stays for all time. But if it's only the Rabbanan, as soon as it's removed, she goes back to the heter. The Gemara actually had a kasha from our Mishnah on this concept. Why in our Mishnah do you have to do chalitza to both sisters? You have Yevamos number 1, which is mutter. Then comes Yevamos number 2 and interferes. Just take her away, do chalitza to her, and go back and be Yavim, the first Yevamos. This is the kasha on Rav and Rabbi Yehuda, as Rashi points out. Because the first Yevamos was mutter, b'shas nefila. What's wrong with going back and being Yavim after you remove the impediment and the exterior interferent? We end up with a kasha. Achayis eni yadeya mishanam. All the best to you, much atzlacha.